I don't know if you heard, but affirmative action is being attacked in the Supreme Court, and it really looks like it'll be struck down in the coming months. But fun fact, I actually wrote an article in the Washington Post about this exact topic. So here are just a few things people often get wrong about it. First, affirmative action in university admissions is not meant to be a solution for historical discrimination like slavery or Jim Crow. Affirmative action serves specifically to increase diversity in the student body. And even then, race is just one metric of diversity that's being upheld. Others include socioeconomic status, home location and region, and whether or not one is the first person in their family to go to college. The reason why the pursuit of racial diversity has been allowed by courts in the past is because racial diversity improves the educational experience for all students. Research shows that racial diversity helps students unlearn stereotypes, engage with other cultures, and raises levels of intellectual engagement and academic skill building, among other benefits that provide a fulfilling, transformative college experience. Without affirmative action, many colleges would have less racial diversity in terms of the representation of Black, Latino, and Native American students because in the modern day, right now, systemic discrimination affects our educational trajectory. The second thing that I want to cover is that socioeconomic status is considered in admissions, but it cannot be a proxy for race. While Black students, for example, are more likely to grow up in poverty and go to under-resourced schools, economic disenfranchisement is not the only impact of racism that affects education. There are Black kids that can go to elite or private schools and face explicit racial discrimination that severely impacts their ability to thrive in school. And it's not because they're low income, it's because they're Black. How is it fair then for that to go unacknowledged when it severely affects their academic journey? The University of Michigan and the University of California took away race-based affirmative action a long time ago, and they tried using proxies like class to create a racially diverse student body, even spending hundreds of millions of dollars in outreach initiatives, but they admit themselves that this did not work. This is because in the real world, race, by itself, is a hugely important factor in students' lives. Third, putting these racial minority groups against each other is intentional. One of the biggest modes of preferences in admissions at a place like Harvard is legacy admissions and/or admissions for the children of faculty and potential donors. In Harvard's class of 2022, more than 1 in every 3 students were legacy admits, and legacy applications were about 70% white. I wonder why. Legacy preferences, which were born out of exclusion, not inclusion, are a much more reasonable policy to blame for the discrimination described in these cases, not the system meant to help people who are disadvantaged by society already. Lastly, a lot of headlines are trying to sensationalize the idea that Asian Americans are against affirmative action, but data shows that about 69% of Asian Americans are actually for affirmative action. On top of this, we need to segregate. At schools like Yale, Laotian, Hmong, Cambodian, and Vietnamese American students have been shown to directly benefit from affirmative action in their applications. The Southeast Asia Resource Action Center shows that these Asian Americans would also be negatively affected in their representation by a ban on affirmative action. Comment if you want me to go deeper on any of these topics, but if you learned something new, please like, share, and follow for more.